हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू आवर यूट्यूब चैनल इंडियन लीगल लीगल एंड आई एम रितिका। और आज हम लोग पॉस्को एक्ट के बारे में जानेंगे कि पॉस्को एक्ट क्या है, व्हाट इज़ पॉस्को एक्ट, व्हाट आर द प्रोविजंस एंड फीचर्स ऑफ द एक्ट, व्हाट इज़ द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ एक्ट. So now we started. The POSCO Act was enacted to protect children from the sexual offences. The act has been enacted to protect children from the offences of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography, and provide the establishment of special courts for the trial of such offences and related matter and accidents. The act was amendment in 2019 to make provision and enhancement of punishments for the various offences so as to deter the perpetrators and ensure safety, security, and dignified childhood for a child. So, now, very firstly, we should know what is the full form of POSCO. So, POSCO, P for protection, O for of, C for children, from, S for sexual, O for offenses. So, protection of children from sexual offences is the full form of the POSCO Act 2022. It is defined as an act to protect children from the offences of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and pornography, and provide for the establishment of the special court of the trial, such offences and matters connected therewith the incidental thereto. It was passed in 2012 under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now we will tell you about the provisions of the POSCO Act. The POSCO Act was enacted to protect children aged less than 18 from sexual assault and abuse and sexual harassment and pornography. The Act mandates the investigation in the cases is to be completed in 2 months from the date of registration of FIR and the trial in 6 months. The Act defines a child as any person below 18 years age. POSCO states a sexual assault is to be considered aggravated if the abused child is mentally ill or when the abuse is committed by a member of the armed force and or security force, a public servant, a public person in a position of trust or authority of the child, like a family member, police officer, teacher, doctor, or a person of management or staff of a hospital, whether or a government or private. It prescribes rigorous imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 10 years but which may extend to imprisonment for the life and also as a fine punishment for aggravated penetrative sexual assault. It also makes provision for the avoiding the re-victimization of child and the hands of the judicial system. The Act also makes it mandatory to report such cases. It makes it the legal duty of a person aware to the offence to report a sexual abuse. In case he fails to do so, the person can be punished with 6 months imprisonment or a fine. It also prescribes punishment to the people who traffic children for sexual purposes. The Act also provides for the punishment against false complaints and untrue information. The Act was amended in 2019 to increase the minimum punishment from 7 years to 10 years. It further added that if a person commits penetrative sexual assault on a child below the age of 16 years, he will be punishable with imprisonment between 20 years to life with a fine. Aggravated penetrative sexual assault under POSCO Act 2012 is the equivalent provision for the aggravated rape. A person can be charged with this offense in certain aggravating circumstances, such as if the rape occurs within a relationship of a trust or authority, or if the leads to pregnancy, among others. Under the POSCO, the consent of the person under the age of 18 is irrelevant regardless of the nature of the circumstances of the sexual interaction or the particulars of the person with whom it takes place. This means that any sex with a minor is rape. Key features of the Act: it is a gender neutral act. By defining a child as any person below the age of 18 years, the POSCO Act sets a gender neutral tone for the legal framework available to child sexual abuse victims. The Act also does not distinguish between the perpet- perpetrators of child sexual abuse on the ground of the gender. It is an offense to not report an abuse. It requires every person who suspects or has knowledge of a sexual offences being committed against a child to report it to the local police or the special juvenile police unit. The Act not only punishes the perpetrator of sexual abuse but also penalizes through those who have who have failed to report the offense with the either imprisonment, a fine, or both. No time limit for reporting abuse. A victim can report an offense at any time, ever several years after the abuse has been committed. Therefore, organizations dealing with the children in the India cannot deny child sexual abuse complaints filed against their employees or the pretext of lapse of time. Confidentiality of the victim's identity. Section 23 of the POSCO Act prohibits disclosure of the victim's identity in any form of media aspect except when permitted by the special court established under the Act. A violation of this section can attract punishment under the Act. New rules added to the Act: any institution housing children or coming in a regular content, contact with them is required to conduct a periodic police verification and background check of every employee who might interact with a child. Such an institution must impart regular training of sanitized sensitize its employees on child safety protection. It has to adopt a child protection policy based on the principle of zero tolerance to violation against the children. This policy must mirror the child protection policy of the state government in which the organization operates.